Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Halloween special.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Because there was a nightmare on Saturday evening. There was a horror show on Saturday evening, James. It came a day early for your lot.
Yeah, I forgot when I was walking home that all these kiddies were out fucking looking for
trick or treating. And you were there looking for 3 points, but couldn't find them.
I was there looking for a new life.
Yeah, Halloween weekend is over. We are into November. So whatever the manager of the month were, we don't know because we still have one game to go.
Is that another Nuno drop in here?
Yeah.
I mean, he only won that thing 2 months ago.
Yeah, we will be reviewing all of the games as we always do, talking about FPL and all of that jazz. Another weekend of stories, twists and turns in football games. And like Liverpool and City dropping points to keep us in the title race, which is very kind of them, indeed. So yeah, all well and good. Tell me, how did you do this week just gone?
All right, mate. Despite everyone trying to banter the fuck out of me on my way to White Hart Lane because Matt Lowton was sitting first on my bench. So good morning, Thomas Frank, and thank you for leaving Brian and Buemo on the bench, which has actually resulted in it being a pretty decent week for myself, all considering. I'm on 58 points with Jose Sarr to go tonight in the Wolves versus Everton fixture. 6 pointers for Livramento, Rudiger, 9 pointer for Rafinha yesterday. Salah, it's irrelevant, isn't it? We all did the same thing, the majority of us. Yeah. And Lowton's 14. I mean, there's such a difference maker. And of course, it looked like it was going to be 18. I just found out that Brentford used all their subs and then they scored.
Okay.
But 14 points from Lowton is something you're never expecting.
No.
You can look at it in hindsight and go, wrong decision to leave him on the bench. But I picked my more offensive players, which is just a general principle thing that I like to do.
It's not wrong leaving Matt Lowton on the bench. How is that wrong?
Well,
I got his points last year. You remember he scored last year? Picked up
Palace, yeah.
Yeah. I got his points last year for that. And there's real satisfaction in Matt Lowton points. Like people that are picking them up.
There's definitely satisfaction to get 14 points from a Burnley defender. Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I don't feel any bitterness or you got it off the bench or whatever, because I know the joy of Burnley defender points of 14 is just like one of those things on the checklist of FPL things that I've managed to do. Get 14 points off of Burnley defenders up there. So, take them and run is what I say.
Do I get like a gold star badge for that?
Or something like that.
Achievement unlocked.
That's what we say.
Big points from a Burnley
58's
defender.
58's decent. It'll probably leave you, 500, 450,
It's
something like that.
basically taken me very close to where I was prior to not capping Mo Salah in game week 9, which is really pleasing to kind of make that back up so quickly. I mean, essentially, Lowton's 14 points. Obviously, there's some fortuitousness about it. Makes up 14 of the 24 points I lost out on the previous week, right? Or 14 of 21. So you could say those unexpected Lowton 14 points has kind of brought the difference back towards 7. So if Jose Sarr can make that up tonight as well, I'm basically going to be back where I started 2 weeks ago, because I dived 400,000 places or something. So if I've made that back up again within 1 week, that's obviously great.
How interesting that in that same time period, well, to be fair, after game week 7 to game week 9, I dived 400,000 places, 800 to 1.2 million, and I'm on 55 points. That's going to come down because my rank's going to come down because I don't have any Everton or Wolves players, and I also don't have Matt Lowton coming off my bench. But I would have roughly, give or take, made up 350,000 places back up. So that little dip for both of us has kind of corrected itself. I've ended up on 55 points, and truth be told, it's my midfield this week that came good for me. In defence, Trent, Cancelo, Ben Foster. Ben Foster, to be fair, got more points than Sanchez. So it's still the right pick, but it was 2 versus 1. So
big whoop, boy.
Yeah, Rudiger's 6-pointer, tidy. It's just so standard. But my midfield, Salah captain, Conor Gallagher with his 13 points.
Oh, that's a touch.
He's your Matt Lowton equivalent for me this week. Kai Havertz did something. Better than nothing.
Oh yeah, I got those 6 points as well.
Yeah.
I overlooked it.
And Rafinha yesterday. My front line of Antonio, Ivan Toney and Harry Kane were useless. 2 pointers all round. So my midfield dragged me through this week, which I'm happy with. Especially Conor Gallagher. I'd stuck with him for a little while, and he's always still he's gonna tick along all season. It's Conor Gallagher.
Is there anything to be said in that? The fact that we've basically had weeks above par because of respectively Matt Lowton and Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Well, a little bit.
Yeah, very interesting. And we'll go through all of the games as we do each and every week. My big kind of sort of news or thoughts were around yesterday. I was not happy with my squad and decided that it was probably time for me to wildcard.
Oh, okay. Tell us more.
Well,
are you wildcarding this week now?
No.
Okay.
But I was at that point where I'm ready to pull the trigger now. I know what direction I want to go in, and I know which players within my squad I was particularly unhappy with and then wanted to potentially move away from. Starting at the back, I'm happy with Sanchez and Foster as a pairing in goal, but I'd actually rather go to Ramsdale. But now I'm in a torn mind here because Ramsdale has not as good. Ramsdale's got worse fixtures than Sanchez. Sanchez got better fixtures.
For a keeper decision, you need to look longer.
Yeah,
I agree,
and so I'll probably end up sticking with Sanchez and Foster actually in goal. But I was going to sell Ben White, and I'm going to move Ben White to Livramento. More playable, better fixtures, which meant I had no Arsenal defensive coverage, which actually then made me consider Ramsdale, but I'm still going to stick with Sanchez, Foster, move Ben White onto Livramento. Brandon Williams is doing nothing for me at left back, so I want to move him on.
Neither has ever plays left back for Norwich.
No, to be fair. So that's another move I'm happy and willing to make, and that would take me to, I'll probably go to Ben Johnson at the moment, 3.9.
Do you think he'll continue to get minutes then? He'll naturally get some investment as a 3.9 million defender who scored at the weekend.
No.
We had these same conversations 6 months ago about him, I'm sure.
No, but the reason I don't mind Ben Johnson going to Ben Johnson is his versatility, which means that he's not a one-position player. He can play right back or left back, and on the right side he can sometimes play further forward of Soufal. If we decided to go to a three at the back and he wanted to play Soufal as one of the three, for example, he's got a bit of versatility of all the cheap defenders. Fine.
I hear you. I think if you went free at the back at the moment... And
we're playing in so many competitions at the moment as well.
I get you.
So if Europa got a bit tougher...
Well, it's not, is it?
No,
you've got 9 points, so it's not.
No, but I mean, we've got a very difficult draw in the Carabao Cup, so...
Dickhead. I love a Planet FPL derby.
Ben Johnson is my current go-to. If I was wildcarding, would I go to Reece James? I would do. It's not essential. It's a luxury move, but I would do it.
Just done Johnson. I think if you did go to a back three, which is not the sort of thing I can't see why you would at the moment, but it wouldn't surprise me if you did it against Liverpool, for example. I think Masuaku would play.
Yeah,
and
more
Cresswell
than likely.
would play left-sided centre back.
Yeah, more than likely. In midfield, the only two. I'd actually keep Salah and Gallagher. I'd move on Havertz.
Obviously.
I'd move on Rafinha, which people might think is mad.
Okay.
And I would move on possibly Bissouma, although he's fodder there for me. In my front line, I'd be looking to move on Ivan Toney, but after this week, and also Harry Kane. I know there are a number of good FPL managers.
Kane now, and then you're going to walk into the fixtures and wildcard.
No, so I'll keep Kane for this week, and then I'm going to move him on.
But that's what I'm saying. It's after this week, Harry Kane's great 4 fixtures.
I don't care.
Okay. There's a risk here.
I don't care.
Okay.
But where am I going to? Cristiano Ronaldo. You telling me his fixtures after this week aren't fucking tasty for Manchester United for a decent period?
Chelsea away in 13, Arsenal at home in 14.
Arsenal at home,
as opposed to the same 2 weeks, Kane's got Burnley and Brentford.
Yeah, look, Watford, I'm not worried about the Arsenal fixture. Chelsea, is going to be a difficult game, but United play better on the counter against some of these teams. So I'm going to end up moving to Rashford.
Rashford that's not starting at the moment.
Don't worry, Rashford's coming.
Okay.
You saw his finish at the weekend. You were there in the ground.
I saw Cavani's finish as well. And I saw Ronaldo's. Yeah. So is it all three of them and Bruno again?
Listen, I think Rashford and Ronaldo. I like Rashford because it's a price point that I can go to alternatives like a Foden, but also I need to pick a differential or something that's going to get me up the ranks. And I do think a goal-scoring Marcus Rashford is a great asset.
Right, so you're going to get rid of 6% Harry Kane ahead of those 4 great fixtures.
Yeah, I'm going to get... Kane's gone. If Kane could score a hat-trick this weekend, I couldn't care less. Callum Wilson
I
on the
think
radar.
you need to, not just on Kane. I think you need to reassess this.
No, Kane needs to go. Ronaldo, Rashford. I also had in my wildcard team Smith Rowe. Up top, I was looking at Hwang as a 12th, 13th.
So Smith Rowe's got Watford at home this week, and then when you wildcard him, and he's got Liverpool
yeah,
away.
but he's again 5.5, right? He's not like front line.
I just don't think you've got the right week here, mate.
No, after this week, the fixtures turn okay for most of the players.
But that's what I'm saying. You're then wildcarding off of Kane before those 4 fixtures: Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich.
But Kane, you're not gonna convince me.
With a new fucking manager, right?
Oh, that will
bounce.
If a decent manager turns up at your place like a Conte,
there's no guarantee it'll be a decent manager because it's all right getting Nuno's going, but there's no Levy will probably fuck it up again. Let's be honest.
The other thing is obviously there is an international break, and I need to understand better, which we'll probably look at later this week, what the consequences of who's going where, doing what, and all the rest of it coming back in a couple of weeks. After this week, we've got 2 weeks off, so. Yeah,
you're also going to wildcard off Rafinha before he plays this shit Tottenham. Is that correct?
Yeah. I don't think Leeds' fixtures are that good. Leicester, Tottenham. You can say what you like about your lot, but it's still
make your mind up.
I don't think Tottenham are that. It's not like an easy fixture for Leeds.
You're going to say not that bad.
It's
we ain't that fucking good either.
No, it's not. But it's not that. Brighton, Palace, 2 tough games.
So.
I think they've got some tough games.
You're going to wildcard.
Maybe. I'm likely to.
And you're telling me ahead of those 4 Tottenham fixtures.
Yeah. I'm not interested in you.
No Kane or Son.
I'm not interested.
All right.
Yeah. If he could just as easily score plenty of goals, right? But is it going to be that much better than Ronaldo?
I'll cuddle you when I wildcard in 16.
Yeah. We will know. We will know. I know for a fact there's plenty looking to get Kane in for the next 4 fixtures.
Absolutely.
Plenty. Yeah. They're playing the fixtures though, not the form.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Of course, he's in bad form as his son at the moment. In all honesty, but then particularly with Sonny, right? It's the one return that can easily be 10-pointer.
Of course.
I think in this game sometimes you have to play the fixtures, right? Part of the idea in this game is to is to make the new template, right? That's the golden goal in this game. To see something before someone else does, and the easiest way to see that is through fixtures.
The counter side to that argument is that in this game, quite often people too rely on playing the fixtures and don't actually look at what's going on the pitch.
Yep.
And that's the downside to it. You're like, okay, it could be a great run, but who's judging the fixture difficulty? Like, so you got option A, which is go by the Premier League's official website, which is pants in terms of fixture difficulty, or you trust your eye test on what you're seeing on the pitch.
Go off my own planner.
Yeah, exactly that. But then it's a subjective thing, right? So you've got Everton this week away.
Yeah.
It's a Benitez side. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Ask a Watford fan about that.
No, of course. But they now need to turn the corner because they've had a couple of bad games.
What, and Tottenham don't?
Tottenham.
So you can write your own narrative however you want, mate.
Exactly. This is the point. Like, what's a difficult fixture? Who's judging that? Leeds.
Well, Everton Tottenham Sunday could go either way, couldn't it? That was fairly obvious.
Yeah. Leeds at home, you should win that game based on Leeds' current form. You should beat Leeds. But Leeds, when they go for 100 miles an hour, can do anyone any day.
Absolutely Leeds could win at Tottenham because they're the hardest working team in the league, and at the moment Tottenham's distance running is the worst of all 20 teams.
Yeah. And it's post international break, so I don't know if any of their players will be fit again. Bamford or whatever. I don't know how long Bamford's out for. Is he out for long? Or any week?
I don't know. 2 weeks of training before then, yes, he could be back. I guess.
You never know, right?
Because that game's a Sunday, so Rafinha should be all right.
Yeah. Burnley away. Who wants to go to Turf Moor?
Me, I'm going to. Meet up in Manchester the night before. Hit me up.
And then you got Brentford at home, Norwich at home. I think Brentford and Norwich, you'll beat both of those. You should beat both of those.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, fixtures. Everything's a double-edged thing. You got stats versus eye test or whatever, right? You make your own narrative. I just don't like what I'm seeing from Spurs to give me the confidence that it's not Kane. If I'm saying yes to Kane, I'm saying no to someone else. Who am I saying no to, right? And Ronaldo, I bought at 12.5. He jumped up to 12.6. Did he hit 12.7? I don't think he actually did. Let me put that on silent. I don't even know who's calling me. But he's now down to 12.4 all of a sudden because obviously so much ownership came when he was on price locked. So he's dropped down, and I'm thinking Kane at 12.1 versus Ronaldo at 12.4. Ronaldo, even when he's not in form, is in form.
Listen, he's Cristiano Ronaldo, who can score in any game, any time. He's also, had he blanked at the weekend, would have been his longest run without a goal since his first spell at Manchester United. So, I mean, what form's he in? And playing Tottenham's nobody's fucking form.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about that specific debate when we get to Manchester United Spurs, because one of the things I would ask you about Harry Kane is for a striker to score goals, you need chances. Yeah. Convert chances to shots and shots on target.
Yeah.
Over 3 or 4 games now, you're like 2-3 shots. Like no shots. If there's no shot volume, there's going to be no goals. You can't score goals without shooting on target. So this is like, okay, that needs to change first. Before Kane's going to score, you need more volume of shots. Unless he's going to have a 100% conversion rate, which is not going to happen. Whereas at least with United and Ronaldo, he'll fucking shoot whenever he gets a chance, to be fair. Okay. So I'm just not... I know there's every chance in 4 weeks Kane can score in every single game. Fine, great. But, you know, I don't like looking at him in my team. So
all right,
it
fine.
Make a
get rid of him.
You have to play this game to make you happy.
I think, no, you should do that. And if you're unhappy with players in your team and if you can move them on, you should. My advice to you, Suj, would be genuinely go and have a second look at it, which because you're not on it now, you've got 4 days and a little bit more to potentially have a second look and just decide, is it like the right week? Because I think you could wildcard, and by the time the end of your wildcard comes around ahead of the Leeds fixture, I think like Harry Kane, for example, might still be sitting there. And you'll be coming back to yourself saying, did I need to wildcard? Because it's fairly clear and certain that maybe not for this weekend at Everton, but by the time the Leeds game comes around for Tottenham, which is it's just under 3 weeks away at this point in real life, a different manager is going to be in charge. Nuno Santo is not going to be Tottenham manager when we play Leeds in 3 weeks. This is like a certainty, mate. So he might make it through the rest of this week. It's looking like, and we should probably timestamp this, it's about 9:30 in the morning on Monday. He might not even make it to the end of today, is how it generally looks. So a different person is going to be in charge. If, I'm just saying, I'm not saying it would be Antonio Conte, but if Conte comes in, you know what's happening, right?
Yeah, we're gonna win the league.
It's 3-5-2/3-4-2-1, and it's a completely different formation and system. In a 3-5-2, it might be Kane and Son up front together. It might be that a different manager comes in and does that. It might even be, we even saw this last year. Ryan Mason's obviously not the long-term option for Tottenham, but if he comes in, Tottenham will be open in the immediate, and at least the brand of football will change. Tottenham scored goals when Mason had the job in interim, just wasn't good enough tactically overall, right? So a change is coming for Spurs.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of these games, shall we?
Let's do that.
Leicester 0, Arsenal 2.
Despite Leicester having lots of chances, I never actually got the impression they were going to score, partly because obviously Arsenal's goalkeeper was having a super day in goal. I think the story behind this game is, and there is a great story around this around Arsenal, they are extremely difficult to play against if they score first. Very good. They were very good for the first 25 to 30 minutes of this game, completely dominated, deserved to have their 2-0 lead, and at that point they can then do what they want to do, which is counter-attack on teams. When you've got the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, and 2 willing dribblers in Saka and Smith-Rowe, you can obviously break on teams quickly and stuff.
Do you think for Arsenal, what we've seen now and the team we saw is the setup? 4-2-3-1, Lacazette just in behind Aubameyang, Smith-Rowe and Saka playing wide but drifting. 2 holders, Sambi Lokonga and Partey, and then the back 4 and Ramsdale in goal.
I think because they've got no European football or anything, I think that team's pretty settled in the
and Ben White, Gabriel in the middle. At the back is okay. Tomiyasu on the right
obviously
is okay.
Tierney will come back in. It's obvious, as and when he's fit.
And then you look at that. If they could play consistently, fine.
Yep.
Fine.
What they did was very similar to what you did when you played them in game week 2, I want to say.
Yeah,
Basically went into a 4-4-2 defensive shape, stopped passing lines.
Yeah.
Made it frustrating for Leicester. I think the narrative's interesting. The way people read and understand a football game is quite often subjectable by goals. So I think actually Ramsdale was saved Arsenal quite a lot here, and on a different day Leicester scored twice, and the narrative is around Arteta's football being sitting off, trying to play counter-attack, inviting pressure. On this occasion it worked. I'm telling you on another occasion it won't work, and social media will be awash with people moaning at Arteta, but this is what he does in games. We've spoken about it in the Sky Fantasy pods about the influence on Arsenal and the way they play is completely dependent on game status. Whether they're winning or whether they're not.
Yeah.
Which means I feel they're not likely to go and spank someone 4-5-0 at the moment, say even like this weekend against Watford. I think even in that situation, 2-0 up against them, they'll sit off the ball quite a bit. They'll actually let the opposition have the ball. And it's the best way of them hurting people with the two dribblers, it really, really works. If you actually look at the average positions for the weekend, Smith Rowe and Saka actually higher than Aubameyang and Lacazette. That's not the position that they played, but Arsenal did convert during this game from basically a very defensive flat 4-4-2 without the ball to basically a 2-4-4 with it.
Yep.
And those two just carry the ball for fun. I think Smith Rowe over Saka at the moment, if you're interested, like you've said, you're interested in Smith Rowe. He would have been on my radar, I think, had Rafinha not been back available. I'm loath to...
And played well as well, Rafinha.
Yeah, he does.
I started looking at my wildcard pre the Leeds game, and then Rafinha did look lively. Obviously took his goal well, and that kind of made me want to keep him a little bit more.
I need to find a little bit of money to make the next few moves that I want to make, and obviously something like Rafinha to Smith Rowe is obviously the sort of thing I have considered. I don't want to sell Rafinha if he's fit, personally. There's got to be another way, I think, of me finding that money. Although I would like Smith Rowe as an asset, and I think if you were going to buy an Arsenal player at the moment, that's definitely the one. This system gives him even more license, and he really is under instruction to go and run with the ball. And he's a very good ball carrier. He's got shades of Grealish in him, actually, in terms of what we saw from Grealish last year, which we can't see for him at Manchester City at the moment, because there's just not the space to do it on the counter-attack, because teams don't play high enough against City. For Leicester, it's interesting that... all the players have been coming out the last few weeks saying we're better with a back three, and it lasted 45 minutes here, which included Iheanacho only lasting 45 minutes. And I think he was someone you've been looking at and considering, wasn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting that Barnes was one of the changes and Iheanacho comes off. I'm convinced there's some sort of link there between Iheanacho and Barnes not being in the same team. What Leicester do next is very much up for debate, but they're scoring far too many goals. They played in the first third of this game like a team whose manager had been approached by another football club in the last week.
Nah, that's fishing.
Okay.
Brendan Rodgers ain't going to Spurs.
Did anyone see my deadline stream on Saturday?
Brendan Rodgers...
no, of course he's not coming to Spurs.
Turned down the Newcastle job. You think he's going to Newcastle? He's more likely to go to Newcastle
Moving on.
than he is to come to Spurs, mate.
No, I'm not talking about Newcastle either, mate.
You think Manchester United?
I think there's every possibility that's a possible end of season. Possibly. That's what
one of the challenges there is that he was Liverpool manager, so yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure it makes too much sense, but yeah, it might make some sense when you think about Solskjaer's obviously staying in the job for a bit longer at the moment, which, I mean, he couldn't have handpicked a better opposition than Tottenham, could he? Leicester assets from an FPL perspective, I don't like it at the moment. Leeds away this week shouldn't put you off. Obviously, it's Chelsea afterwards. Then there's a couple of nice fixtures, like they've got Watford, Southampton, Villa, Newcastle. It's a nice run of 4 games. You can argue Tottenham, obviously, at home's the 5th, although we don't know how difficult that will or won't be by the time that comes round. But it's interesting, you're talking about getting rid of Kane. I think for those who've got Jamie Vardy, he blanks this weekend. People are going to spend 2 weeks thinking about moving Vardy to Kane, and now they're going to do it financially, honestly.
Yep.
The other interesting thing is just about Kane, just what I remember talking about kind of forwards in and around that prices. A lot of people don't want to go to Ronaldo now and are thinking about sort of Kane versus Son. And obviously, if you decide to take the Kane route rather than Son route, it's much easier to get Ronaldo when you definitely do want it sort of 15, 16, that kind of thing. I've got a decision to make on Kieran Tierney because I think this might be the avenue where I find that little bit of money that I need to find in the next couple of weeks. But I obviously want him in the team, really, for Watford at home this week and Newcastle at home in 13. If you were to punt against Mo Salah this week, which even in spite of the fact they have an extremely tough fixture at West Ham, I think Aubameyang's as good a bet as anyone for the week. But do you really want him in your FPL team?
Burnley 3, Brentford 1. They did claw back a goal late on, but
they didn't play well.
Nah. And look, we're now 10 games in. They're still doing okay. Are Brentford?
This is probably the first game you'd look back on them and go, they've not played well.
And they're 12th. I mean, they're quite clear. They're 5 points clear of Burnley, who are in the relegation zone, but now on 7 points. So they've still got a little bit of breathing room, but I do think Brentford are going to slowly get sucked back in there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
My biggest takeaway from this game was, and has been for all Burnley games recently, the one and only Cornetto, right?
Oh, Maxwell
Cornet. I've got Tony. He's sticking around for a bit because they got Norwich at home this week. I'm not buying any other Burnley players, but Cornet keeps returning, and he's also quite cheap at 6 million. Another alternative to your Rafinha to find some money potentially.
It's not this week when I got Chelsea away, right?
No. But over a season, I feel like he's a set and forget almost, Cornet.
You have to remember, for me, who's kind of locked into a principal wildcard 16 idea, unless I had severe injury crisis, I'm looking very, very short term at my picks. So would I look at Cornet in 12 for Palace at home, Tottenham at home, Southampton away, Newcastle away? Yes, I might come back and have a second look. Do I really want two Burnley assets? I've got the legendary Matt Lowton already. I think that will do to cover me for that period. I think Cornet is very, very interesting. He's basically playing OOP. I mean, he does not fuck about in front of goal. I mean, that finished at the weekend again. I mean, there was a few top bins at the weekend, and that was one of the best ones. I think he's interesting. He's certainly leapt above sort of Dwight McNeil in terms of if you want to consider a Burnley attacking player. That we have spoken over a number of weeks saying they notoriously start seasons slow, and kind of on no basis of anything we've seen have had this kind of lingering feeling they'll be all right. And I think Cornet gives them a different dimension. I think after this week, Chris Wood is worth considering for a short period as well, perhaps over the Christmas run. He's due to have a run. He took his goal very well at the weekend. I think the defensive assets, it's a shame for me as a Lowton owner in a weird, I'm not complaining obviously, but the fact they've got Chelsea away this week, normally with a full team pointer he'd get some interest, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
If it was the week after, but I'm not going to buy him this week with that fixture.
No.
For Brentford, I'm buying Tony.
You think so?
No, I know I am. It's part of the plan. I'm going Antonio to Tony this week. It's just a matter of timing it correctly this week. I think, do I particularly want to sell Mikel Antonio? No, he's a bit of a comfort blanket. I'm not bothered about his lack of returns yesterday. He's dirty unlucky, which we'll talk about. But I think it's the right entry point for me, for Tony. Norwich at home, Newcastle away. He can go in for those two and then I can reassess. I mean, it'd probably be at least 3 with Everton at home as well. I might look at moving that on for the final 2 when he's got Tottenham away and Leeds away to possibly Callum Wilson, who then has Norwich at home and Burnley at home. That's the kind of where I'm at in terms of my thinking before my wild card at the moment. I'm definitely going in on Tony. Yeah. I'm not bothered about the lack of returns. Easy could have had one at the weekend. I did a bit of analysis on his performance at Stoke last week in the Cup, and he could have hauled massively. I realise that's a championship team, but he's playing a championship team this weekend, let's be very honest about it.
Yes, he is.
So, and I mean that with the best respects to Norwich. You just can't see them turning it around.
2 goals so far this season.
So,
2 goals.
To be honest, arguably, Tony's even an alternative captain. I would not go and captain a Brentford player, but like if Tom messaged me, our Brentford correspondent, he'd be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm captain Tony this weekend. I wouldn't try and talk him out of it.
No, exactly that.
So I'm going to go and buy Tony. I think, look, Norwich and Newcastle and then Everton at home is a decent little 3 fixtures. He might stay for all 5 for me. I'm not getting him in longer term. I think there's a lot of people who've already bought, sort of gone in before this fixture or a couple of others. It's reasonable. You cannot sell that at the moment, in my opinion. And I think that I agree with you, Suj, they'll get sucked in. But I think over the next few weeks, they might do quite well. And I'm happy to have Tony and Mbeumo over these little fixture run. I think Mbeumo, he might end up on the bench for me in the last few weeks or something, but he's going to probably hang around till that wild card now, unless I have the luxury of moving that sideways to a Smith Rowe or something, perhaps when Arsenal play Newcastle. It's fine, and I would expect Mbeumo to come back into the team. I think what happened at the weekend was they obviously made a decision where he was doubtful, which is why he didn't start the game, and at 3-0 down, they've looked at it and gone, this is finished.
No point in coming now, yeah.
Let's give him a week. Force is not first choice over Mbeumo. It doesn't mean Force can't play against Norwich. I'd be stunned if Mbeumo didn't come back into the team, particularly after the way they played as well. They missed that relationship that he has with Tony. It's beneficial for both of them. And I think defensive assets, by the way, are worth looking at. Rico Henry, Janssen, Pinnock. Norgard's midfielder, so you wouldn't go into that route. But I think, the defensive ones, I need to find some money. That's what I'm talking about, like Tierney. If Tierney's going to be out for a few more weeks and he's going to be unavailable for even, say, this weekend against Watford, I might pull that now because I need some coverage of a decent player in 13, and Everton at home's not too bad. And then I would give myself such a headache in terms of selection if I bought a Brentford defensive player this week before Norwich at home.
Yeah.
But it would make my team better, wouldn't it?
Oh, for sure.
With that fixture. So, defensive players under consideration. I think, personally, I would go Henry because it's short term. And just think, do you know what? He might get high in some of these games. There could be something that's not been there yet offensively.
Liverpool 2, Brighton 2. Liverpool cruising and then got clawed back. I
don't think they were ever cruising, but at 2-0 up, you think the game's done.
On the score sheet, they were cruising is what I mean more than, actually in the game. I don't think you're ever cruising against Brighton because they are such a good team nowadays. And the Salah assist, which was fairly early for Henderson, thinking, all right, great, here we go again with Mo Salah. Didn't quite materialise into the points that I would have hoped for. But when it doesn't matter. Do you know his effective ownership was like 199%, mate, in the top 10k. Like his returns were irrelevant. Yeah. But as soon as he got the assist, I think we all thought, oh, thank fuck I did that. Yeah.
He only needs one more return in 85 minutes to kill me again. Thank God I've gone with it.
Yeah. Sure, but drop points for Liverpool. I mean, look, Brighton are a difficult side, and so you shouldn't discount the fact that they've managed to come and get a point here and done okay as well. Lamptey's now starting to get minutes. I don't know if anyone's got any eyes on him potentially.
Yes.
Which, definitely there should be. He's 4.4, right? I think because he got injured pre-season, he had no ownership, so he hasn't had a real drop-off in price because of his injury at the start of the season, but he's 4.4 is still okay. It's same price as Livramento, same price as Ben White. There's a few in that. I still probably favor Livramento over Tariq Lamptey, but that's not to say that Lamptey can't get returns moving forward as well.
No. And Brighton are on radar again because I'm really looking at something I need coverage for 13, and ironically it's because of what you say. Livramento away to Liverpool. Now I've got Matt Lowton at home to Tottenham, and I know what you're thinking. And yes, if it comes to it, I could just play Matt Lowton, of course. But I'm highly likely to go into that week with Kane and Son, so I'd rather not play the defender who's playing against those two players. I'd rather go all in somewhere else. And Lamptey, of all of them, is, could I get him? Leeds at home, who they kept 2 clean sheets against last year and performed very well against. That's a decent fixture in 13. It's a decent fixture for him offensively as well, right? Could I get there? I think in the case of him, though, I'd probably have to wait rather than going this week because you're never too sure if he's going to be fit enough, right? I would have to buy it in 12 when they're Villa away, and I could either play him or bench him. It's neither here nor there to obviously shift the funds. I think he's interesting. He's definitely the sort of player you should be watching and having an eye over at the moment, I think. Particularly if you've got no Brighton defensive coverage. And actually, even for those with Shane Duffy, you could look at it as a sideways. Because if you've nicked the money on Duffy and you want to move it sideways to Lamptey, that is more appealing than moving it sideways to Webster. Now, Duffy played at the weekend at Liverpool and played again quite well by all accounts. I think Mane's goal probably doesn't happen if they're playing 3 at the back, but they changed system to a back 4, which is better for Duffy. Definitely better for him. It's not as good for Lewis Dunk, who likes to play in the central of the 3. I don't know if Webster comes back in next week or not. I've no idea. No idea. I think they would have looked at it and gone, do we want to bring Webster back in for Liverpool away when he's probably not 100% fitness? So I think that they've got Newcastle at home next week. It feels like an easier game to bring Webster in. You think about that possible pace of sort of St. Maximin and Callum Wilson running into channels. Callum Wilson's very good at running into channels. They might decide that they don't want to be doing that with Duffy, particularly if they're going to stay with a back four, which it's no guarantee that they will. Veltman played right back. Cucurella played left back. I didn't see a huge amount of this game, but everybody who did watch all the games kind of been raving about Cucurella. And in midfield, they bossed things. So Lallana's been playing very much this kind of deeper lying kind of quarterback role for them a little bit. It's been like a 3-1-4-2. He played higher up in this game. And Mwepu and Bissouma's obviously a very powerful combination in midfield. Yeah. We spoke in pre-season about, with Sam FPL Seagull, about something in Mwepu was making us think of Yaya Toure. Because I'd looked at clips at him and it was like, you'd look at one clip and he's a holding midfield player, and you look at another clip and he's playing as like an offensive 10. And Toure obviously became a bit of an FPL legend when he went and played basically as a 10 for Man City. And the shape on the goal that he scored at the weekend reminded me of a goal Yaya Toure scored against Sunderland in the League Cup final at Wembley. Magnificent goal. Not an FPL asset at the moment. Trossard played as false 9. He said that himself in the interview afterwards. I'd argue was simply just playing centre forward and stretching people and giving them problems. They had a big bias, Brighton, when you look at the heat maps and stuff, towards attacking down their left side, which is Liverpool's right-hand side. And we've spoken about this for years. If you want to attack Liverpool and hurt them, that's the side to target. Target Trent rather than Robertson. And also at the moment, Konate, I guess, has stolen the shirt from Matip. So why not target it and put pressure on it? The draw, honestly, is the least that Brighton deserved.
So Liverpool now have drawn 4 games this season. They haven't lost any, but I don't know. You can look at it as, wow, they've drawn 4 games, but then 2 of them are City and Chelsea, which are very difficult. One was Brentford, that was just literally almost basketball more than it was football, 3-3, and then Brentford, Brighton, who are a very good team, all of a sudden. Yet at the same time, Stamford Bridge, they just keep... I feel like this is the season where Chelsea are going to win the league through efficiency, and Liverpool and City will probably end up scoring more goals over the season, probably even have a more interesting ups and downs and some real great performances that we'll remember from City and Liverpool. And Chelsea will just keep being efficient. And this is where I worry for Liverpool now. I mean, we're playing them next Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. Great game. I think everyone will probably actually be looking forward to it now. So yeah, I think I'm not sure with Liverpool. You're not going to go past Salah and all the rest of it, but for title contenders,
I just think
3 draws in 5.
We've spoken about this a number of times about Brighton, in terms of like on their day they'll match up against the best. And you think of Guardiola's comments the other week about them being title challengers, and then he kind of put them to the sword. But Brighton played it so differently against Man City to how they played against Liverpool. I mean, they flooded Liverpool out. They went too offensive and got caught on the break against Manchester City. Against Liverpool, they managed the situations. They're a difficult team to play against Brighton. This isn't a disaster for Liverpool to draw at home to Brighton. It's not good. You could look at it and say, okay, the free draws, Man City, Chelsea and Brighton's not great, because they're better off winning one, drawing one and losing one, and they've got an extra point on the board, right? But Brighton are a good side. Don't overlook them. On their day, they'll give anybody trouble. And when they play Chelsea, they'll give Chelsea some trouble. This Brighton team should definitely finish top half in the league.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not certain it will, but it definitely should.
Have we all finished the Crystal Palace humble pie? Because I was properly relegation battle, but and even a couple of weeks ago, I mean, they were drawing, and draws are not very useful in this league. But they've gone to City now, and they've won deservedly. It's a difficult game when you play City, regardless. Like even last week, Wednesday, when we played them in the cup, you can give them a good game and yet they'll still have 60-70% of the ball and batter you for most of it. But it's about how you control the shape and how you cut off their passing lines and stop them getting in behind and stuff. I think a lot of people are now thinking Palace top half of the table as well.
They've never done it.
Yeah. But
it will be a big achievement from them if they do it.
Massive. And they've got a really dislikable player in Wilf Zaha. And I've never really been a Palace fan, but I kind of feel like now, you know what? You change your manager, you got Vieira in, you got some good young players in. Go on, lads, go for it. I actually quite feel like I want to see Palace do well because it shows that, with a good organised team that play to a system, anyone can beat anyone. That's what I like about it. It shows that what happens on the pitch matters more important than what's off the pitch, and all the shit that you want to chat off the pitch doesn't matter.
Where are Palace in the leg?
It's a very good question. I'm going to tell you in a second.
Their 5 away games have been City, Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham and Arsenal. And before Manchester United fans get on my back, that could conceivably be the top 5 in the Premier League this year, especially if Ollie stays at the wheel.
13th.
They've possibly got the 5 hardest away games done.
And they're unbeaten in 5. Draw, win.
So for them to be in that position with the fixture
13th.
run they've had is great. Now, obviously, they threw away the late win at Arsenal. They threw away the points at home to Brighton. They were great against Brighton. They've obviously drawn at home to Newcastle. They should have won that game. So we shouldn't be surprised that we're kind of looking at them going good side, because that everything metrics-wise suggests that they're far better than what the position in the league is at the moment. It's just the fact they've had a fucking tough run of fixtures, and they have. And I think with the next couple being Wolves at home, Burnley away, Villa at home, Leeds away, as the next 4, they're worth considering. It's Manchester United away in 15, and I'm certain they'll give United problems with the way they counter, because United won't play against Crystal Palace the way they played against Tottenham on Saturday. And then beyond that, it's Everton at home, Southampton at home, Watford away, Tottenham away, Norwich at home. I will definitely have a bit of Crystal Palace on my wildcard 16. It's not going to work for me in the short term, but I also think for those, and it will be the majority of you who've obviously used your first wildcard, you can look at Palace longer term. There are a few issues with that. One is offensively, where do you go? So a lot of people have been kind of looking to get rid of Gallagher, I think, in FPL. It probably
because of what, 3 blanks? Yeah, I get that.
You get the easy frustration. Oh, he's had better fixtures. He's not done anything. Well, no, really starts looking half decent for them longer term now. I think he offers great value. I think the argument, Suj, would be if I had to buy Smith Rowe or Gallagher now at similar price, I would probably still buy Smith Rowe.
I would buy Smith Rowe.
I think.
But I would also not be averse to both. I feel like both, that's where my direction of travel.
Up front, Zaha obviously played through the middle against Man City, and Edouard played wide. And it's not the first game that Edouard's played in the wide of a front 3. So that's kind of making Edouard not look like a great option at the moment. I kind of joked in jest about Benteke last week. I wasn't joking. And I think for some of these upcoming games, he might come back into the team. But then you've got Michael Olise, who's obviously come on, had an impact on the game. And Ebe Eze is close. He's back in training. So he's going to come back in the next few weeks. Now, I think Eze in this system, I think he's going to become a midfield player for Palace. I think they're going to go and play with one sitter and Gallagher and Eze either side. And suddenly they look like such an exciting team. We'd spoken about the prospect of this in the summer. So we shouldn't be that surprised. We looked at the investment they'd made and went, you know what? You look like a good side. So the safest place...
Could be a good side.
The safest place to...
There was always the question mark. New manager, new system, new everything. How will it work? But yeah.
Well, the thing is as well, right? Good results like Saturday comes with a different pressure. So all Palace fans will be expecting to beat Wolves now this coming week. And football's just not as simple as that. They'll be thinking, well, we can go to Burnley and win the week after. It's not as simple as that, because most teams don't play like Burnley in terms of the way the ball gets unapologetically put into the penalty area from most angles. Although Burnley played some great football, by the way, at the weekend. The safest place to look at Palace is defensively. And again, for me, looking to fill a game week 13 problem, I look at Villa at home and go, that's okay. I wouldn't have a clue which one of the 4 to buy out of Mitchell, Anderson, Gehi and Ward. I think
cheapest.
You could, but I think they're all the same.
Are they all the same price?
I think so. You toss a coin
Mitchell
between them.
Cheaper.
I think for you on a wildcard, you talk about keep Sanchez. Gator would offer an alternative, actually. Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
So I'd be very conscious of buying their forward players at the moment. I think Gallagher's obviously safe to play the majority of the games. And they don't play Chelsea till game week 26. So you haven't got to worry about missing the game because of the loan agreement. And that's probably by default where you'd have to go at the moment, because I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with the others. I'm looking at them defensively. Short term, they're on radar. And I think if you pin me now, my instinct would be I'd go and get Mitchell. But then when I spoke to Mig on COTC before the Newcastle game, he said he'd probably go Ward, actually. And I think the centre-backs are solid as. I don't see them two full-backs getting attacking returns. So you think, should I get one or two centre-backs who might get me something from a set piece, if that's the way you were going to look? They look a good side. You're right to say they're in with a chance of finishing top half. I mean, you look at them versus Tottenham and go, they're a better team.
Yep.
There's not really a doubt about it at the moment. But come game week 38, who do you think will finish higher?
Tottenham.
There you go. So that's the next step for Palace. Interestingly as well, just finally on them, Vieira got a lot of criticism for going very deep against Arsenal, kind of trying to sit on the lead. In this game, at the key moment, he brought Elise on and brought on a more offensive player, and then they took the game away from City on the counter-attack. So he's learning as well.
Let's talk about Newcastle 0, Chelsea 3. As expected.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as, what if Newcastle are playing Chelsea? Chelsea are top of the league. Newcastle as good as bottom, other than Norwich. What do you think will happen? Chelsea will win comfortably 3-0.
It's as simple as Newcastle adds, I think it's 7 more passes than Antonio Rudiger. That statistic alone tells you everything you need to know about how the game went. It was Chelsea camped in Newcastle's half territorially. I think 50 of those passes for Rudiger were in the final third even.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, impressive.
So, I mean, they just had so much territorial advantage. And the shape they have in terms of the three centre-backs generally funneled into position, and they have Jorginho protects it, meant that even if Newcastle did try and get it into St. Maximin or Wilson, Chelsea generally had a 4v2 advantage. It's Suj James with the goals this week over Ben Chilwell.
But Ben Chilwell still picked up 2 BPS from what I can see.
Very good.
Tidy.
And with Burnley...
With only just a clean sheet. You didn't get any attacking returns.
With Burnley at home this week, I can certainly understand why people would want to go and buy those players again. However...
Don't want to play.
Burnley, what do you think? There's a narrative around the teams that people pick against Burnley. It's been going on for years. You know, suddenly like Yerry Mina's not first choice for Everton. Or playing Burnley. Yerry Mina's playing. Big
strong defence. Azpilicueta out on the right. 3 big centre-backs. Off you go.
It could be Alonso at wing-back as well.
Alonso definitely, I think, would
I can see Marcus Alonso playing this fixture against Burnley. Too. It wouldn't surprise me. I could have that completely wrong. There's no real reason, I think, for Chelsea to worry that much. But I think he has an instinctive defensive nature in him that goes, if I can limit Burnley's offensive weapon in any way, I will limit it and then trust my footballers. Because Alonso against Burnley, right, he could get attacking returns, no doubt about it. Could you get away with playing him against Goodmanson, who's probably going to play out there? Yeah, you probably could, as long as Rudiger's playing left-sided centre-back. Yeah, I think you can probably get away with it. So I think Ben Chilwell is a very dangerous buy this week, personally. It's just my instinct that Alonso might play. James, I think, is decent in the air, so I don't think there's a lot between him and Azpilicueta, so
no.
I'd be less worried about that.
I feel like Azpilicueta's taller, but maybe that's just a perception thing.
The thing with James is, like, he's got 3 double-digit hauls from his only 3 90-minute appearances. And that's concerning, isn't it? It's concerning that even if you look at the weekend and go, so we'd kind of got to a point where we were saying, is it just Christensen versus Thiago Silva as the central of the back 3? No, Christensen plays right-sided centre-back in this one. And that Azpilicueta's not staying out the team, is it? Does Christensen deserve to be dropped again? Do they go, well, it's Burnley, I'll leave out Thiago Silva? Not convinced, because I think with his experience and the way he is positionally would be very important to Chelsea. You would think they'd rest players against Malmo in the Champions League, but having lost in Turin, they can't particularly afford a bad result. But Zenit have been doing nothing in that group either. So I imagine Chelsea will change a few against Malmo in the Champions League. I'd be very conscious. Ben Chilwell's the one. I would not buy Ben Chilwell this week. Don't get me wrong, Ben Chilwell starts, he could easily get a 15-pointer again or something, but
timing's wrong.
What I see a lot of people doing as well is they're looking to make the sideways move, which is fine. But if you say, some people looking to move Rudiger, we spoke about this last week, the idea that Rudiger will get 6, 6, 6, 6, fine. Chilwell may well be 0, 12, and over the longer term, they'll probably level out a little bit. Think of it this way as well, right? Because of Burnley and we're talking about the prospect of Alonso playing, Rudiger definitely plays. Rudiger always basically plays. Phantom Man was pointed this out to me. Always plays if Alonso plays because he needs Rudiger to protect him. And I think there's a strong chance Alonso will play this week.
Agree with you very much on that.
Yeah. Havertz last week for me, that's always part of the plan.
Agreed.
He's going to Heung-min Son in 12. This is part way I keep talking about trying to find a little bit of money for me to cover me something in 13. But I have to make the move, i.e. obviously this week or in game week 12. If Tierney's ruled out, I probably have to make a decision this week, I think. The rest of the attacking players wouldn't appeal. Ziyech had a load of efforts at the weekend. How he hasn't turned around with a little bit of a haul himself, actually. But you've no guarantee that he stays in the team. Mason Mount owners, I don't feel sorry for you because you had the big haul last week, unless you bought him this week. He's only a sickness bug, so he'll be back in the team. So one of Ziyech or Hudson-Odoi is going to drop out. And I would think with Havertz still playing through the middle, and I don't see that changing, Chelsea need one of the two behind to be quick. Therefore, Hudson-Odoi I would expect to start again.
Yeah. Watford 0, Southampton 1. We'll give this the 60-second treatment because of the other games we still need to get through. We're talking about Adams and Armstrong, and they combine and they score a goal.
Talking to players who should have hauled. My God. Armstrong. Can you check Tinternet? I've just had a message while we're recording saying that Nuno Santo has been sacked.
I will pull it up. It's most likely going to be on the BBC website.
I'm pretty sure that is probably true. Just so we can time
BBC, Nuno Espirito Santo, Tottenham sack manager after 4 months in charge. Yeah. Spurs have lost 5 of their past 7 Premier League games.
Yeah, good.
And are 8th in the table.
You don't need to read the rest of it. It's bad enough, mate.
Sympathy for Nuno at Spurs. Conte could be next.
I believe that when I see it.
Why just get him in the summer? What happened there?
Well, exactly that. But it could be that Tottenham have realised they're a lot more desperate and now need to offer a lot more money and a lot more promises. It could be. I mean, they can't get this wrong again now, right? There'll be a lot more Tottenham talk this week on Planet FPL, particularly on Wednesday's podcast now. I think Tottenham this week might be an hour and a half, Such, with your potential takeover as well.
Yes.
People's poll this week's Friday. We might do something Tottenham in that, actually, as well, to kind of open the subject up. Anyway, what are we talking about? Which game?
Well, we're talking about Watford, Southampton, and
Watford,
Adam Armstrong should have hauled and got
God.
A big return, but then
six shots, I think 4 in the box, none on target. In fact, ironically, I mean, if you watch Match of the Day, which admittedly is all I've seen of the game, and that's always a dangerous judgment, but looking a bit deeper, Watford fans have been like, yeah, we didn't play well, Southampton deserved it. Southampton had a ton of chances, but the only shot they had on target was Adams' goal, which was another beautiful top bin finish, brilliant goal. Redmond played in a wider position, having been kind of playing as part of a front two very recently. I don't know the extent of Brosh's injury. I think you could, if you're an Armstrong owner and you're not sitting there with Tony, I think you're probably getting a bit itchy pants looking at Brentford playing Norwich this week. Otherwise, I can see it falling into that trap. Remember, Che Adams last year was the same thing, wasn't it? Yeah. Loads of efforts on goal.
Next week,
XG is coming. And he never really did till everyone had sold him, and then he had a few returns. I really like Armstrong. I think there's a few things offensively he needs to be a bit more aware of his teammates, but he loves a shot at goal, and from a fantasy perspective, that's obviously no bad thing. I think people can sell now if you haven't got Tony. But Villa at home, Norwich away looks good, doesn't it?
Especially because they just conceded 4 Villa.
It's very understandable why people went and bought Armstrong or even Broha in the first place. I think your decision might be influenced by what happens with Broha, but there's no guarantee that he's going to come straight back in.
No, not after these guys have combined to score a goal and won a game. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult.
They're getting better defensively, by the way. It must be said, because they were atrocious second half of last season defensively. And their numbers are getting much, much better. McCarthy's actually playing okay in goal. They keep changing left back between Walker Peters, who I know Sky gave man of the match during the game, and Peral.
And you got Max BPS, did Walker Peters as well in FPL.
Livramento always plays, doesn't he, at the moment? Yeah. And
he should as well.
That's your one. Go and get him, mate. I think I saw someone post at the weekend, forgive me, I can't remember who, that he was now only 3 points behind the points that Lundstrom had in the first 10 when Lundstrom obviously had his mad season.
Okay.
And I think because the red and white stripes, people just want to make the comparison narrative. There is no comparison in terms of the players.
No, different positions.
From a fantasy perspective, there definitely is the 4.0 rising through the ranks and ownership. His ownership's going to keep going up. I'm glad I got him a few weeks ago. He's knocked me up some points. I cannot complain at all. And as said, they've got a couple more good fixtures. Watford, interestingly, kind of changed shape a little bit. I picked a very offensive team. João Pedro came in for Tufan. It's essentially played with 5 attacking players and Musa Sissoko kind of covering the space behind. Now, one problem with Musa doing that, and Musa, because he can move side to side really well and covers ground, it's the one thing he's good at. It limits them on the ball though, right? So when they want to play out from the back and you're looking at, well, let's play it into midfield, or it's only Sissoko there, you end up making mistakes. You're going to end up going long, I think, more than you particularly want to. And that's very much going to be the case in the fixtures coming up. I mean, Arsenal away, United at home, Leicester away, Chelsea at home, Man City at home. Yikes. They'll be in the bottom 3, I'm fairly certain, by the end of that run. Yes, I think one of Newcastle or Burnley will get them. Actually, no, Newcastle won't. But they'll get closer, Newcastle, I should imagine. Burnley will be ahead of them, I think, by the end of that run. And it's how they react to that, because then they do have some good fixtures over Christmas and stuff. I was very insistent last week that people not only kept, but also started Ismaila Sarr. You've got every excuse to sell him now. Yeah, anything Watford you've got should go, except for Ben Foster, backup goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. At 4 million is fine. Spurs 0, Manchester United 3. As we just announced, Nuno has been sacked off the back of this game, and fossil football, as expressions would say, just difficult times for Spurs.
To be honest, the best one was what your guy said on West Ham Clips. Was too funny last week, mate. The Make-A-Wish Mourinho
for
terrible
for Nuno.
He's been put out of his misery, and I think someone messaged me.
Is it wrong of me to feel sorry for him?
No, I think it's perfectly acceptable. Like, I feel sorry for him.
He's come into a bad situation.
I don't hate Nuno. I don't feel about him the way I felt about the
previous
previous manager.
I think he's got abilities as a football manager as well.
Completely wrong person, wrong time.
Yeah.
Completely.
And with football management, it's the squad plus the club and ownership plus the manager being all three at the right place at the right time, which is exactly Moyes. He's been in other jobs. Everton was right club, right squad, right manager, right time. Other jobs weren't. This for Nuno didn't feel like it even at the start of when he was appointed. Right time for Nuno, but
we've been saying stopgap.
Ran out of options.
Basically, I mean, how many times have I said to you, if suddenly Pochettino gets sacked at PSG, they will literally just go and appoint him. The problem is it turned so badly on Saturday that they've had to act. So someone messaged me before the game and said, I hope we lose today. I want the manager to get sacked. And I was like, in the politest possible way, I was like, fuck off. You should never want your own team to lose. And I said, and he won't get sacked anyway, no matter what happens. That's the bit I definitely got wrong, because it turned so poisonous in that stadium after the substitution. Like I haven't heard it like that at Tottenham. Wow. A long time.
Wow.
A long time. Probably going back to like when Graham was in charge or something, in terms of the vociferous, get this man out of the club. Wow. And Nuno's getting all the frustration that people couldn't dig out about Mourinho last year, right? Because Mourinho would never have lasted as long as he did if the fans would have been in the ground.
Yeah, you're right. I think you really are right about that.
So when it comes to Saturday, and he obviously made the substitution, which was bizarre. Honestly, he would have been, and you know how much I defend Kane. In that situation, in that game, it would have been better off taking off Kane. Arguably even Son. Because Lucas was the one player who looked like he could do something, run with the ball. And it wasn't a slight on Bergwijn coming on. It was a, what are you taking Lucas off for? Lo Celso wasn't playing well. We're now losing the game. Lose one of the two holding midfielders who hasn't got a passing bone in their body to go forward. Change the system. Do something. Play Lucas at wing back. Loads of things you could have done, but taking Lucas Moura off wasn't the right solution. Which has an irony in itself, because although Lucas has kind of got cult status at Tottenham because of the hat-trick in Amsterdam, most Tottenham fans don't rate him.
He's a squad player.
They think he's a player who runs down blind alleys. Remember what I said last year about Mourinho hasn't improved a single player at this club? I'd tell you that Nuno Santo has improved Lucas Moura as a footballer.
Okay.
Genuinely. And he's
his expression says he's his son or something. Because he makes him similar.
A little bit, I guess, yeah. Just needs the beard, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Lucas gives a little bit of an injection in pace into the game, which obviously Tottenham, they just don't have it at the moment. It's completely lifeless. So to remove that player, there was an outpouring of, I think, the football that we've watched over the last 2 years or so has been crap. The kind of knock-on of the Super League, all the period of not going, the fact that the owners are still there and there's an impossibility to get them out. So when it comes to the weekend and it gets loud in the ground, I mean, I left as soon as Rashford scored. I didn't even bother to hang around for a VAR check because I knew what was coming. I didn't need to see it or hear it. But when it's going loud, and you're walking down the stairs coming out the ground and you can hear, we want Nuno out, we want Levy out and stuff, and you're like, wow. So he's got a choice. He can't fucking sack himself, can he?
No.
So the quickest way to appease the supporters is to remove the person in charge. Do I think he should have got more than 10 games? Yes, probably. Is it the right decision to sack him? Yes, unfortunately, it definitely is, because there isn't a recovery from that on Saturday, and there's definitely no recovery from the fact it was linked all through the press yesterday that they're thinking of sacking him.
They had a meeting. Every outlet had Spurs are having a board meeting.
So it's completely inevitable. There's no recovery from that point. It's also believed that a number of players have said, look, this is fucking bollocks. He's basically Mourinho, but without the CV. And you can't argue that. There was always a fear, was he Mourinho Mark II? Yeah, he was. And he wasn't any better than the previous manager. He was out of his depth, unfortunately. But he was also dead man walking from the start, because the things that Levy said, attacking football, bring back the Tottenham DNA, and you've just appointed, hang on, I've just watched balls for bore me to tears for the last 6 months, all of us, and you've gone and appointed that. He appointed Paratici, and Paratici convinced Levy that Nuno could play attacking football.
Yeah.
Vicious circle within that football club, and there's no quick fix. Even Antonio Conte, if it was him, could come in. You're not going to fix it overnight, but yeah, it needs world-class manager of that kind of pedigree, or it has to be someone who genuinely will come in and make it enjoyable to go to the football again, because the fans at the highest ticket prices in Europe, right? It's not acceptable to them be watching. We've played of the last 7 games, in 4 of them we haven't had a shot on target in the second half. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Palace you could look at and go, ooh, bad. Okay, maybe it's a one-off. Chelsea second half. Okay, we played a right first half. I can live. Arsenal, what was that tactically? And then to come to this after he'd kind of built up a little bit of grace with the Villa win and the Newcastle win, and then he obviously went to Holland, changed the whole team. When you do that, you change the whole team. You can't then lose a league game afterwards.
Sunday, no, exactly.
And the performance at West Ham wasn't that bad, but we also never looked like scoring. No. And the Thursday performance in Vitesse, I mean, it's not even worth talking about, mate. No. The second string.
Listeners, I know, of course, obviously, we can easily get sidetracked with Spurs and West Ham on occasion.
Sorry.
We will have Tottenham this week, which will obviously be very lively for so many reasons, so many talking points. And with Spurs assets, I guess, obviously, the fixtures do get good after Everton, but by then, a lot could have happened in terms of the managerial appointment, so we kind of keep our powder dry. With Manchester United, one of the things you've always said about Cavani, and I've probably not watched enough Cavani in my life to ever have an opinion on the player, was there's always elite movement.
Oh, magnificent.
Ronaldo finishing
to be fair,
is class.
Yeah.
His ball through is great. Rashford one-on-one like that is one of the best finishes as well. When Rashford went through, I didn't have any doubt that he was going to score.
I was getting to say,
he's ready to go. And when United do that, I mean, those players are elite players at certain things they do very well. Ronaldo, Fernandes, Rashford, Cavani, and suddenly you think, okay, yeah, it was set up against Spurs, but it was a reminder that even from an FPL point of view, I think Ronaldo particularly, they're assets that are worth keeping.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo. It's any game, any time, isn't it? And I mean, the finish.
5 returns, 7 games, 6 games.
You know what? That finish is so good. He's not waiting on that. In his mind, he's like, Davis is going to miss this.
Yeah.
He cannot know that Davis isn't going to get there and get a flick.
No, but he gambles.
And that's what the greatest strikers in the world do.
The disallowed goal was actually an even better finish.
To do that, I mean, he's levered the thing, isn't he? Yeah. To do that on the volley with so much control and precision when you really have not got half a second to know that he's actually going to land there. He's so set and ready. Brilliant goal from obviously a top player. He certainly benefited having Cavani with him.
Well, this is the ironic thing of Monday Night Football last week. The debate was all this. It was the Neville versus Souness debate. It wasn't Monday, it was the Sunday, and Neville was saying, I think we should play Cavani and Ronaldo up top together, and then Ronaldo and Souness was saying that it's not an attacking problem, it's a defensive problem. Well, I don't know if there's points to Neville, but suddenly Cavani and Ronaldo played and both scored and they've won 3-0. So it's got to take...
I do think that there's been a lot of narrative since Saturday in terms of Ronaldo needs a partner. I'm not convinced on that personally, but I think in this system, he certainly would need a partner, be it a Cavani or a Rashford's pace. It could be Martial's pace. It could be Greenwood's link. There's loads of players, or you could even push Bruno higher, right? Because Bruno played very deep. Basically as part of a midfield three with Fred to the left and McTominay and Bruno Fernandes to the right. I got asked probably last week more times than I've been asked before, what's your prediction for the game? And my answer was always, it kind of depends on United. And my confidence going into the game, because of what I watched of United last Sunday, was getting worse and worse as the week went on, as I'm hearing like Varane's back fit. And I knew when I saw the system change, I knew we had a problem. I knew we had a problem because the answer I kept giving people was, it depends what United do. Because pound for pound, they've got better players than us.
They do.
Even the team that United picked at the weekend, how many Tottenham players get into a United team with that same system? It's not many.
Yep.
It's a couple. Sonny, maybe.
Yeah.
It's questionable. Hugo, Kane doesn't get in that. Maybe you could say Kane and Ronaldo. But otherwise, there's nothing else.
No.
Maybe Romero over Lindelof. There's not a lot, right?
No.
And that's despite United leaving out Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho, Lingard, etc.
Correct.
So I knew it was a case. The exact words I used on one of the shows last week was, if United come and be pragmatic, all they have to do is wait for Tottenham to make mistakes, because Tottenham will make mistakes. And that's exactly what happened. And you've got obviously elite finishers who go and expose that at the end. I think the other thing that made things worse for Tottenham at the weekend was, and apologies to United fans, United deserved to win the game, no doubt about it. But United weren't great. United never set the world alight. I wouldn't say, United dismantled Tottenham on the counter-attack or anything like that. We're ruthless with the opportunities they took. Well deserved to win. They weren't that good.
No.
Like, they could play the same way against City at the weekend. They won't get beat 5-0 again, but they'll probably get beat.
Yeah.
If United had played that way against Liverpool, they certainly wouldn't have got beat in the way they did. And it's probably extremely regretful for Solskjaer, because in the only time we've ever seen United play a back five in the past is when they've played teams like Liverpool, City, Chelsea. We spoke about the amount of clean sheets they had in the big games last year and stuff. He doesn't make United assets appealing yet. I agree, Suj, in terms of looking at Ronaldo, of course. I think the one, probably, you're not buying Ronaldo before Man City at home, I don't think. But those who have still got have obviously made a decision now in terms of, were they holding to move to Kane? And because of the Watford fixture in 12, do you? Because that obviously is one. Salah at home to Arsenal, Ronaldo away to Watford.
But
obviously, is it worth it? I don't know. But when we get there, it's certainly one where we can have a debate and say, is this the week where you can take Salah on? Now, I won't own Ronaldo, so I obviously won't take him on. But for those who've got Ronaldo, yeah, there's the possibility that week to look at it. Salah's changed the game in the sense that while he's like this, the kind of justifiable for people like Ronaldo, Kane, you've got to have them because of the captaincy. I mean, my plan was to captain Kane in a few of the fixtures 12 to 15. But there's every chance I won't, even at his price, because I don't need to, because the other guy's in so much form. So ordinarily, with the likes of Ronaldo, Kane, even Bruno Fernandes, Sadio Mane, quite often you look at them and go, well, I need to justify this by the price because I need to captain them in 2 of the next 5 at least, or something like that. But it's not the case at the moment, is it? Because there's one obvious captain every week for the foreseeable. That's one where you could punch against. And I'd certainly understand if people do that.
Yep. Norwich 1, Leeds 2. I mean, a crazy 5 minutes. I didn't watch this whole game, but I was watching the 25 minutes when all the goals happened and the 5 minutes that did at the end there. Rafinha always looks like a live wire.
He gets better the longer games go on. You know that. I've said that before.
He's a very good player.
He had one brilliant moment, which I really, really loved, which I think the people who only watched the game live would have got. Shackleton got an injury. And they were going to bring on the young kid whose name escapes me, right back. Demura, I think it is. I forget. Shackleton was injured.
Drame.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cody Drame.
Shackleton got injured, but they weren't ready for the sub, or the sub didn't happen for some reason. And Rafinha took it upon himself to fuck Shackleton out of the way. To get up the pitch. I'm going to play right back. Just went and did it. No one told him to do it. He just went, get off, I'm going to go and do it. And went and covered for his mate. And I love that. I mean, he's got a strong mentality about him as well. It would be easy for him to look at it and go, with this team and the way they're performing at the moment, I'm not going to be here long term. And Leeds are going to make some monster money when they sell him. But he is so at it. He works as hard as anybody else in that team. He's an elite player and he works his bollocks off as well. And he's a superstar in waiting, Rafinha. I think anybody who listens to me regularly knows I think he's top level. Pleased, obviously, from a fantasy perspective that he got the goal yesterday, particularly as I brought him back in Sky after needlessly getting rid of him the week before. But Leeds weren't great. They played a back three as we would expect them to play because Norwich play a front two. This was all about the result for them. They are definitely missing something. They are better, obviously, for having Rafinha and particularly Calvin Phillips back in the team, even more so than Rafinha, actually. But they're definitely missing that kind of in front of goal Bamford now as well, I think. And they're just struggling to get through at the moment. And the FPL tactician and Aaron Lagos are clash to correspondence this week, previewing the game against Leicester. And that's an interesting one because of the way Leicester played against Arsenal. Really. Well, yeah. There is that.
I mean, Leicester did well. It was only a week ago against United that they did well.
But then do we look at that in hindsight and go, oh, that was because of United?
Was shite. Yeah, I don't know. It's all these narratives, isn't it?
It might be. I mean, there's more ones. Like every opinion I got from Watford was, it showed Everton were really bad, the 5 that they got about Everton, rather than them actually being kind of better under Ranieri or anything. But because of, obviously, Leicester changed the system at half-time against Arsenal, it's now difficult to know which way Leicester will play against Leeds. The Leeds obviously always want to play a back three if the opposition is going to play a front two. So they'll need to pick a flexible team that can kind of change on the spot in that particular game. When I say on the spot, they'll see the team lineup and they'll know within those 11 they've selected which way they're then going to play, which gives an interesting dynamic to that game. I think Rafinha's going to stay for me, Suj. I like having him in my fantasy team. And it's interesting, there's been so much talk about sort of Mount, Foden, Jota this last week or so. He's cheaper and he's got talismanic potential in him, Rafinha, whereas those other 3 players, I don't think they're likely to be talisman. Phil Foden could be, but Mount's not going to be Chelsea's highest scorer. Jota's clearly not going to be Liverpool's highest scorer. Rafinha's every chance he will be Leeds' highest point scorer.
Let's talk about Villa 1, West Ham 4. No disrespect, Norwich, but you're not making any shapes. If you get to double figures,
it doesn't matter who plays left back. They're in trouble.
Villa 1, West Ham 4. Got to probably 50, 60 minutes in this game. And I have to admit, I missed the last 10 because I had to do something with my son and couldn't get out of it. But my brother was in my house watching the game downstairs.
I'd get rid of the child. I mean,
tell me about it. And I was like, text me when the goal's going. It's a 3-1, 4-1. He'd text me, I'd run down, watch the goal and disappear. But I felt at 50, 60 minutes, looking at Villa as they were, Leon Bailey plus Emi Buendia plus Danny Ings, and I know he didn't play, is still not as good as Jack Grealish. I feel like that losing a player of his ability is such a big drop off that even if you replace it with 3 or 4 players, it's hard to do because the way he gave him control of a game with what he does with just the outball. And I'm judging this game on the 2 games we played against Villa last year, and especially the one at ours they should have won. He was so good because he always gave him the outball, always won the foul, glided across the grass, and none of the others were able to even give him 20-30% of what Jack Grealish could yesterday. Particularly, it was a tough day for Villa. I get it. And so, yeah, it's tough. To lose a player like Grealish is just so...
I obviously feel like I can relate to this in terms of that. I mean, he carried that football team, right? In terms of, first pass was always, can you find him? Whether it was, long, short, whatever. Can you get it into Jack Grealish? You only have to look at their performances last year to look at them without him, to know they had a massive dip off. He returns for the last 2 games. They beat Tottenham away and they beat the European champions Chelsea at home. He obviously had a huge impact on that team. And as I said, I've got experience of this, right? Because my team didn't buy 3 players to replace Gareth Bale. They bought the fucking magnificent 7, right? And the 7 players couldn't make up for what Bale did. Not easy to replace a player who clearly by miles is the outstanding player within a football team. It's also not fair, particularly on those 3 players that have come in. I mean, Bailey's been injured, so it's difficult.
Yeah,
Buendia has as well, and he's had these issues with kind of the Argentina games and stuff like that. He walks off with a hump. I think they're in a position, Villa, where trouble is brewing and the fans are getting frustrated. They changed the system yesterday, which we knew that they would do.
Yeah, personnel, driven a bit by personnel.
There was some rumours went around early afternoon that Danny Ings might miss out, which I think in a way made the selection easier to just go,
there was like,
Watkins will play up front.
There's some soft muscle injuries and COVID issues. I'm like, what is it? Has the guy got COVID, or has people in his family got COVID, or has he got a muscle injury, or what's going on?
What was the issue with Tyrone Mings?
He was dropped.
Well, I know that.
Because Smith said it in the pre-match interview. He said he wasn't good enough in the first half last week, so he dropped him.
Big call to drop your captain.
Very big call.
That's going to have some problems with
especially when your 2 replacement centre halves both could have got sent off in the space of a minute. This is like both of these guys should be going.
The Conor was not a red card for me.
Halls Bowen.
Yes, not a red card.
Yeah, there was one defender covering coming across. It was because he was last man, right?
As far as I'm concerned, by law, the ball has to be heading towards goal unless it's clear and obvious. That is not it's not even clear and obvious that Bowen will get a shot away. In the case of Zaha,
he would have got a shot away.
The 2 other incidents of the weekend, Zaha, Laporte, definite red card, and Johnny Evans should have been sent off against Arsenal as well. That one was the harsh one. Conser shouldn't have got sent off.
Yeah,
but Hall should have got sent off.
Yeah, so I'm exactly like you. I felt like probably maybe by the letter of the law, yeah, it should have been. I don't know, but I didn't want that one given. But I did want the other one given on Fornals because he led with his arm. I didn't want the other one given. Yeah,
you can say that's protective, but that's fucking dangerous. Yeah. And that's why it should have been a red card.
Well, I don't think West Ham played particularly fluid, but sounds really arrogant. In a lot of these games, we are the better team. And when you're the better team, you've got to take the game to them. And it's a different mindset. Although in this instance, actually, Villa ended up with way more possession than we did. By the end of the game, we just had way more shots than they did, 23 to their 5 or 6. Deserved as well in the end. Good team performance, but not the best that we've played, I would say.
No.
Attacking returns are getting shared around by everyone except Antonio.
Yeah, it's very true.
Sorry.
Our Bowen and Fornals, the new Antonio and Ben Rama. Antonio, I mentioned earlier about him being unlucky because, I mean, even in the last 5 minutes of the game, he could have assisted both goals.
Yeah,
it's his header that he gets clattered that puts Bowen away. Obviously, the shot gets saved. Fornals taps in the rebound, and obviously Antonio's brilliant play, which was a great possession move that you had, Suj. Then slips it obviously into it was Lanzini.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, he shoots and scores. And
people
like he plays it across. It was also his first touch was so bad it was stuck under him that he had to pass it as well. So if you look back on it, watch Antonio. He's not fucking happy, mate.
Yeah.
Everyone else runs off celebrating. He's not impressed. Antonio's definitely got himself in his fantasy team, and I reckon all 10 of his women have got him as well. And he's got to go back and explain to all 10 of them girls why he only got a 10-pointer in a 4-1 win. Very good, Suj. We expect you to win these games like this now.
Yeah.
It's a big period for you because, you got
Tough
Liverpool, Wolves away is not easy, Man City away, Brighton at home, it's not easy.
Shown to be
Chelsea at home. These are 5 tough fixtures, and that's why I'm happy to take the decision personally at the moment to sell Antonio.
Yeah, me too.
For Tony. I think, however, were I in a position where I'd already used the first wild card and I had that value of, what is he, 8.2 at the moment?
It's 8.2. The only reason I was going to keep him even if I did wild card was that value drop off was huge.
I'd keep him because I'd know that while he's fit, I mean, you look ahead and this is kind of planning ahead, but I think if you've used your first wild card, you should look at this. Game weeks 18 to 22 if he can stay fit. Norwich at home, Southampton at home, Watford away, Palace away, Leeds at home. To be honest, I could have just said the first 3 of them. My plan is to get him back when I wild card in 16. It's Burnley away and Arsenal away before that, and I want him back, or at least have a strategy where I've got someone else for 2 games and he's coming back in. That's where I'd want to be with him. So I'm happy to take what I've got, move it on, try and get the physical FPL points gain. Then when I wild card, I want to have him back. Jared Bowen's the one I think he's right under the radar at the moment.
He's playing.
But you're not you're not buying now because of them fixtures.
No,
and that applies to anything West Ham at the moment. But I'm not convinced that you have to sell.
You don't have to.
Because you're playing so well.
If we win on Thursday, then European qualification's done.
You've qualified anyway, mate.
No, but top is done, which means now we have no other midweek football until the
rest of them teams in that group are going to keep beating each other. You might already have it won on 9 points, mate.
You're right. So there's no need for a midweek rotation now with Europe because that's dealt with. And the next cup game midweek is against you. That's not till December the 20th. So through this period of December, at least there's not going to be as much 2 games in a week stuff going on for us, which is actually a real blessing. So we can give it a good go against Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Brighton, these difficult games that we have.
For Villa to close, I think Dean Smith has a big couple of weeks. Southampton away, Brighton at home, Palace away are not the three worst fixtures in the world. And Villa fans probably look at those three fixtures and think, I want sort of 6-7 points from that. When you break it down, do you think they'll win at Southampton Friday night? Right now?
No.
No, me neither. Brighton at home?
No chance.
Palace away?
Difficult.
Then it's City at home.
If they got 2 or 3 points out of the next 3,
then it's City at home, Leicester at home, Liverpool away. And I think you can feel the pressure building. And similar kind of happened to AVB at Tottenham. That's stylistically very different to Dean Smith, and I quite like Dean Smith actually, but there is a stigma towards, because I've seen him do great tactical things. I think the performance they had at Anfield in the restart period where they should have won the game and they lost 2-0, but it was the best tactical performance anyone put on against Liverpool that season, and then obviously destroyed Liverpool 7-2 at the start of the following season. But I think it's building where a lot of people think tactically he hasn't got it. He's not really sure what his best team is at the moment, partly because of the 3 additions you've said and how to fit them all into the team. I think the things like leaving out Mings, I get it. He's not played very well, but dropping your captain is going to cause some problems in the dressing room. And quite clearly, dropping Tyrone Mings didn't fix the problem because he still had issues defensively without him, right? Is Courtney Hawes better than Tyrone Mings? I'm not convinced, actually, mate. So I think it might have done more damage than good. The result afterwards speaks for itself. You can have a complaint about the Conor red card, but not the Courtney Halls. The best team won the game in the end. It felt inevitable watching the game that it was going to go 3 or 4.
Yeah, when it was 2-1, I did think we'll nick a 3rd or a 4th here. We'll just keep grinding it out. In the last 10-15 minutes, we're going to pick them off because we've got the quality to them. And that's what happened in the end. So.
Yeah, I think pressure will grow on Dean Smith. Plus, as well, it doesn't help as well when you start seeing other teams acting. It does seem to cause a pressure on people. You know, Tottenham have acted now. Newcastle have acted. Watford have acted. If Villa have a bad few games and then they're looking at that kind of 14-16 run, actually, suddenly, from being in a position pre-season where we kind of thought they should push towards top half, they'll be looking more over their shoulder.
Yeah.
This Villa team, despite the talent it has, is not going to finish top half of the league at the moment.
No, I agree with you. And West Ham need to take a firm look in the mirror, all the squad, to be honest with you, because if they hadn't thrown away a point against Brentford in the 89th minute and a point against United in the 89th minute and then thrown away 2 leads against Crystal Palace, would be top of the league, so you useless bastards need to fix up and shape up. Because these last-minute leads that we're throwing away or draws are not acceptable. Everyone
has the what-ifs. By the way, how many
it's true, though. If we beat Liverpool this week, though, and then jump above them after 11 games, that's not like a small sample size anymore.
Such real talk.
I am like, yeah.
There's 10 games gone. You're level 1 points with Manchester City.
Listen, I could have smoked 2 spliffs before this podcast and I wouldn't be as high as I am feeling right now. Good. Because of what my football team are doing for me. Because
just as well you had 3.
If only we were recording at 9:30 in the morning, mate. You know, real expressions aren't me until lunchtime.
Did you go to bed last night, sweetheart?
Oh dear! No, we're going to do 2 questions from Twitter because we have done the whole hour and a half, and it was inevitable with Nuno getting sacked in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what they've got to look forward to this week. I'll plug the Patreon, and we've got 2 questions that I've got ready on my screen.
Okay. Tuesday. Oh, yeah, it's 1st of November, isn't it?
It is.
Tomorrow, I'll with a Friday deadline, I'll be doing Ask James tomorrow, 3 p.m. UK time. Come and join me and ask me whatever the fuck you want. on YouTube. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football. Thursday, Clash of Correspondence, Leeds versus Leicester. FPL tactician Aaron Lagor. Friday will be People's Poll podcast, which in the schedule I put out last night, I said is dependent on topics this week, but kind of thinking it might lean into something Tottenham by the time Friday comes round. Q&A today on Patreon. UEFA Champions League Fantasy Preview tomorrow on Patreon. Tottenham on Wednesday. Thursday is quiz. And Friday will be our Game Week 11 differential show preview. Advanced tier videos this week includes don't tweet anything stupid during the Wolves Everton game this evening, and a closer look at Phil Foden.
Lovely jubbly. And if you are interested in joining our Patreon community, which is coming up to 500 people in there, we have a Slack channel, which is just basically a place where you can have loads of offline discussions with fans of different teams. We have channels for all the different game formats. We have an additional piece of football content every week. As soon as you sign up to Patreon, you get access to the back catalogue. The back catalogue must be 300-400 pieces of content coming up to now.
Easy.
Yeah. And we've looked tactically at also so many different footballing topics. And of course, prize leagues and all that kind of jazz as well. So head over to patreon.com/PlanetFPL. Sign up there. And it's only a monthly rolling if you don't like it, Lee. But
22 additional podcasts from Intermediate in November.
Lovely jubbly. 2 questions, James.
Go.
We're gonna end on a bit of fun. Money Mace FPL. If you had to dress up as a player for Halloween, which current or former player would you choose? Fucking Harry Kane's pretty scary in his form.
I'll take that. I need some thought to think about this one. I've got Luke Chadwick in my head. That's so bad. I'm so sorry.
I would go as Rene Higuita. I think as a
Valderrama, what a shout. Yeah.
Valderrama or Higuita, one of those two. I've gone Higuita because the goalie shirts that Clumber wore were like loud as you like. That was the start of ridiculous shirts. I remember Seaman had a dickhead shirt.
You go like David Seaman Euro 96. Yeah.
There's disgusting shirts. It'd be one of those two. Higuita, I don't mind that Seaman kit as well. From that era was pretty bad. And Tiny Giraffe, what's your go-to order when getting a Chinese?
Oh, I ain't had Chinese for ages. Sweet and sour chicken balls.
James doesn't like chili food. If anybody that's never really listened to the pod before, James is like lemon and herb at Nando's is a bit of a fuck up for James. He likes plain-ish.
Egg fried rice.
Egg fried rice is standard.
Chicken chow mein.
Yeah.
We get some rib things, some barbecue rib thing.
Sticky ribs.
As well.
Nice.
I think.
Pork ribs. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's normally it. That's enough for me anyway.
Really? My kids will have the duck pancakes. You into duck pancakes? Not
nice.
So yeah.
No, I like it.
Edamame, chicken satay, egg fried rice. It's a tidy little meal for the kids, and we'll always have a kung po or something with a bit of crispy chili chicken is my current go-to dish at the moment. Crispy chili chicken with noodles.
You know what she got last week? Weird, but it was all right actually. It's funky. I said, what we got for dinner tonight? This was on Thursday, I think. Thursday or Friday. Look in the fridge. She said, "Oh, we've got this." What's that? It's a fucking packet. It's got pumpkins all over. I'm like, tell me she's not cooking pumpkin.
Halloween something. Pumpkin mash.
It was a burger inside pastry. So it was like, instead of a sausage roll, it was like a burger roll.
Okay.
Interesting. It actually came out right. It was a nice burger, actually. But I was like, what have you done?
There we go. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. I know we go on a little bit, but I hope you got a rundown of the games this week. Been a difficult one for Spurs, obviously. All sorts of stories and narratives going on. 5 days till the deadline. Well, it's 4.5 days till the deadline. Don't forget, it's a Friday deadline, so get your thinking hats on with what you're doing with the FPL teams. And wherever you're listening to the podcast, get subscribed, because our content will be fed straight to your phone or wherever you listen. Importantly, stay safe. Enjoy this week as it gets colder, and we'll be back at you tomorrow. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Have a great week. Cue music, please, man, child.